So maybe you're thinking, hey, how should we handle Donnie Tanahands? How are we going to get rid of Donnie Tanahands? And are the Democrats going to play it right? I predict the Democrats will not play it correct, but Donnie Tanahands may self-destruct. We'll see. It's crazy. You don't know what's happening. We're still in November. He hasn't even been inaugurated yet. He hasn't even been sworn in. I'm here with comedian Dave Raditz, and the miserable liberal Steph Zamorano is with us. There's a gentleman from Italy. Or do you say Italy? Now, Dave Raditz, are you Italian?
I'm not. I am Jew-Talian.
You're Jew-Talian? You have
Yes.
no Italian in you?
No Italian in me.
Now, Steph, you're Italian, right?
Wait a minute.
So here,
I'm Mexican.
this guy, Luigi Zingales, he wrote an article, The Way to Resist Trump. And this is from the New York Times. I was on last Friday. He says, Mr. Berlusconi, remember, now Berlusconi was very close to what Trump was, or is.
He's a corporatist. He's a bit of a fascist.
A bit of a corporatist, bit of a fascist, and a real kind of a boorish, misogynistic, kind of a real, creep.
Yes.
And, all this, a lot of sex scandals, underage, what have you, things happened. So Mr. Berlusconi was able to govern Italy for as long as he did, mostly thanks to the incompetence of his opposition.
Sound familiar?
Sound familiar? What did the Italians run Hillary Clinton too? It was so rapidly obsessed with his personality that any substantive political debate disappeared. It focused only on personal attacks, the effect of which was to increase Mr. Berlusconi's popularity. Oh, where did I see that happen before? Oh my God, it just happened. That's exactly what happened here. They completely focused on the fact of Trump's horribleness and his repulsiveness to what they thought would be the majority of the electorate. And they didn't talk anything. They didn't talk about policy, substance, nothing. So every time they attacked Trump's personality, they were like, how come his numbers go up? Because if something he did pissed off the establishment, that made his followers happy, no matter what it was. Same thing with Berlusconi. So he goes on, he says, his secret was an ability to set off a Pavlovian reaction among his leftist opponents, which engendered instantaneous sympathy in most moderate voters. Mr. Trump is no different. So that's what I was just saying. So Berlusconi could, like, whatever he could do, and he could get his lefty people to freak out over. Oh my God, did you hear what he said? He said, grab her by the... So... That's what this guy's saying. So be careful. The strategy already lost Hillary Clinton the election. Maybe we don't do that going forward. Maybe we focus on horrible policies. We saw this dynamic during the presidential campaign. Hillary Clinton was so focused on explaining how bad Mr. Trump was that she too often didn't promote her own ideas to make the positive case for voting for her. We all know that was the problem. There was no case. She did not make a case for herself. And people say, well, she had the most progressive platform. She didn't talk about it. She didn't say anything. She didn't say what was the message of Hillary Clinton's campaign? I'm with her. What does that mean? Nothing. We're stronger together. Again, nothing. What does that mean? How does that translate into a policy that helps your life?
I didn't know
Trump said he's
going
to bring your jobs back. He's going to put tariffs on those assholes who ship their jobs over. They knew
the wall. Don't forget the wall.
And the wall.
The wall.
Right,
I just was saying, when everybody said, I'm with her, I'm like, why? You're with her. How come?
Why?
Because it's a catchy phrase. I'm with her. So we can all pretend that we're supporting a female who's running for president. As far as I was concerned, she's just a corporatist. I didn't see a gender with Hillary Clinton. I just saw a lot of bad policy.
That sounds sexist. The news media was so intent on ridiculing Mr. Trump's behavior that it ended up providing him with free advertising. No duh. Shortly after Mr. Trump gave his acceptance speech, protests sprang up all over America. What are these people protesting against?
Reality.
Reality. Whether we like it or not, Mr. Trump won legitimately, denying that only feeds the perception that there are legitimate candidates and illegitimate ones, and a small elite decides which is which. If that's true, elections are just a beauty contest among candidates blessed by the guardian council of clerics, just like in Iran. These protests are also counterproductive, he says. There will be plenty of reasons to complain during the Trump presidency when really awful decisions are made. Why complain now when no decision has been made? I agree. I was saying I understand people who got out in the streets and what have you, because there were Bernie bros. There were Bernie supporters and Clinton supporters out. But I was like, why don't you wait until you have something? Why aren't you out there right now screaming about North Dakota? Have a policy in mind. Have something you want to achieve. That's what I think. I'm no genius when it comes to organizing, but
there was a national day of protest in support of the protesters in North Dakota. So as people get organized, they're able to focus those protests better. But people
that's right. You're right. I did forget about that.
And
people are
just stunned. I mean, it's like grieving.
Yes.
We're going through and that was the anger part.
Yeah. That's great. Well put, Dave. Yes, you're correct. That was the anger part. You have to go through the 5 stages. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross taught us.
And for a lot of people, Donald Trump's election is the death of reasonability and stability. I mean, that's how it feels.
Yeah, I know that is how it feels. I know. I've been making the case, though, that look what's happening in North Dakota right now. Barack Obama's nowhere. Where's Hillary Clinton?
Correct.
Nowhere. Where's Chuck Schumer? Where are all those people? They're nowhere.
Schumer's
so that's
at a
why.
deli.
You want to know why the Democrats lost to a clown? I'll tell you why the Democrats lost to a clown. Because they stand for absolutely fucking nothing. That's why the Democrats lost to a clown. Let's get back to this. Right now, nobody's out there in North Dakota. Where's Barack Obama? Nowhere. They blew off a woman's arm. She was bringing water to some people praying, and they threw a concussion grenade at her that amputated her arm. That's not this story. That's another story we're going to do, but that's why the Democrats lost and will continue to lose, because they stand for nothing. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. All right, so this guy said, he goes, it delegitimizes future protests and exposes the bias of the opposition. So if people are out there protesting just at the thought of Trump being president, now when they go out and actually do protest something else, it kind of like, well, you guys fucking didn't like him anyway.
Sure, it's the boy cried wolf.
Right.
I disagree.
I'm you know what, I'm go ahead, Steph.
Okay, well, the only reason that people had a reaction to what the outcome was, that he was elected, and they do have something to protest. When somebody is getting the popular vote, although I'm not a fan of hers, she has garnered more of the popular vote. He garnered the Electoral College, and there's the mechanism is broken. And when I see the writers say that he was given all this free advertising, I would say that it was free propaganda. Yeah. And I think, that's the big deal that I'm, protesting against. If I was in lockstep with it, I'm for them protesting. I'm glad they got together.
I'm for people protesting anytime.
Why do you
because
hate
they
the
get
protesters,
engaged.
Dave?
They get engaged. They get out there. They do something. You know what I mean? It channels their energy. And while maybe right now it's not focused, at some point it'll focus and maybe it can change something.
This is the first time that some people have ever protested.
Yes.
So they've got to go practice somewhere.
Yes.
So when the shit does hit the fan, they'll be more of a collective.
Okay. He goes on, he says, the Italian experience provides a blueprint for how to defeat Mr. Trump. Only 2 men in Italy have won an electoral competition against Mr. Berlusconi. Romano Prodi and the current Prime Minister, Matteo Renzi. Both of them treated Mr. Berlusconi as an ordinary opponent. They focused on the issues, not on his character. In different ways, both of them are seen as outsiders, not as members of what in Italy is defined as the political caste. The Democratic Party should learn this lesson. It should not do as the Republicans did after President Obama was elected. Their preconceived opposition to any of his initiatives poisoned the Washington well, fueling the anti-establishment reaction, even if it was a successful electoral strategy for the party. So what he's saying is that what the Republicans did by obstructing everything Barack Obama wanted to do and providing no solutions to any problems that people had was that they created an anti-establishment fervor inside their own party. And that's what Trump is, by the way. People forget that Trump's election was the base of the Republicans rejecting the Republican Party. So the Republican Party establishment. They've been rejected, just like the Democrats rejected theirs. There was a rejection of establishment this election. If anything, the Democrats didn't hear it. They didn't see it coming. They still forced Hillary Clinton on everybody. That's the weird thing. Super delegates are supposed to be there so they don't have a weak candidate in the fall. And the super delegates were there to ensure we had a weak candidate. Isn't that weird? Isn't that funny? That's how power works. So let's go on a little bit. He says there are plenty of Trump proposals that Democrats can agree with, like new infrastructure investments. Most Democrats, including politicians like Mrs. Clinton and Bernie Sanders and economists like Lawrence Summers and Paul Krugman, have pushed the idea of infrastructure as a way to increase demand and to expand employment among non-college-educated workers. Some details might be different from a Republican plan, but it will add credibility to the Democratic opposition if it tries to find the points in common, not just differences. So what he's saying is, hey, if Trump actually proposes something that's going to help people, it would behoove the Democrats to actually help that along, because now they can, when they come up for the election, you could say, look, we're not just obstructionists.
We're reasonable.
So they don't start and continue the anti-establishment fervor in the Democrats' own party. So that's what this guy's advice is. Don't do that. If there's something good, do it. But if there's a bad policy, scream about the policy. Don't scream about the guy's personality. When you screamed about Berlusconi's personality, it only made him stronger. And the same thing, you saw it happen. The same thing happened with Trump. So here we go. We'll keep going. And an opposition focused on personality would crown Mr. Trump as the people's leader of the fight against the Washington caste. So when you go after look, he's a deplorable, he's blah, 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 that makes people happy because they know it pisses off the establishment, right? He's not one of them. He doesn't play by their stupid rules. And people like that. So focusing on his personality actually enhances Trump. It builds him up. Don't do that. I agree. Do you agree with that, right?
So you're saying, just to summarize this, is don't point out that he's a misogynist that hates women. Just point out that he doesn't want to pay people equal money.
Yes, focus on the policy. Focus on that he doesn't want to give family leave, or focus on that he doesn't want equal pay, or focus on whatever the thing is that's discriminatory, however misogyny reveals itself in his policy. Or however his prejudices reveal itself, and fight him on the policy.
So does that mean we can't mention that he's going to have an all-male white cabinet?
So what he's saying right now...
Of white men?
I really, I guess it's worth mentioning. I'm agreeing with this because we did the other thing.
Yes.
We did identity politics. We had a woman going against a misogynist, and she lost. So I would stay away. Bernie says stay away from the identity politics. I say stay away. I say you can win on the issues. You don't need identity politics.
Right. Bernie was not out there blasting Trump. Bernie was out there saying we need single-payer health care.
Yeah.
We need, $15 minimum wage.
And we need to get money out of politics.
We need to get money out of politics.
And so people knew everything Bernie was about. They didn't know anything about. They knew what Hillary Clinton was about. They knew she was about nothing.
Yes.
And we knew the last night before the election, the big event, and I've said it before, when it was President Obama, Michelle, President Clinton, Hillary, Chelsea, all they could talk about was how horrible Trump was.
That's all they did.
There was no message. There was no vision. There was
they were
no
living their
brighter
nightmare.
future.
They were living their nightmare.
It would also weaken the opposition voice on the issues where it is important to conduct a battle of principles. So let's go back one more. He says, and an opposition focused on personality would crown Mr. Trump as the people's leader of the fight against the Washington caste. It would also weaken the opposition voice on the issues where it is important to conduct a battle of principles. So if we go after his personality, it'll weaken our voice when we go against his policies. When we go against his issues. So what he's saying, those people out there
you just make noise.
Just protesting the idea of Trump actually hurts people because they see that, oh, good, the establishment still doesn't like him. So he's saying make it specific. Whenever you go after him generally or after his personality, it builds him up as the anti-establishment guy. But if you go after his policies, that's the way to win. Democrats should also offer Mr. Trump help against the Republican establishment. I like this idea. An offer that would reveal whether his populism is empty language or a real position. For example, with Mr. Trump's encouragement, the Republican platform called for reinstating Glass-Steagall. The Republicans called for it. Democrats didn't. The Republicans called for So get this. First of all, remember, Donald Trump won because he ran to the left of Hillary Clinton. He ran to the left of her. He said he was going to fight for your jobs. He was going to put tariffs on imports, and he was going to re-regulate Wall Street. He ran to the left of her. For example, so he wants to reinstate Glass-Steagall, and the Democrats should help him do that. The Democrats should declare their support for this separation, support of this separation of the commercial banks from the investment banks, a policy that made many Republicans oppose. The last thing they should want is for Mr. Trump to use the Republican establishment as a fig leaf for his own failure, dumping on it the responsibility for blocking the popular reforms that he promised during the campaign and probably never intended to pass. So they say, don't let Trump go, look, the Republican establishment won't pass my stuff, because then he's still the outsider. He says that will only enlarge his image as a hero of the people shackled by the elites. So this is it. That's the end of the article. So
the thing with the playbook is you got to be able to execute it.
Yeah, yeah. And the Democrats have very, very little fight in them. They don't have any fight. Look what's going on right now. I mean, they what's going on in North Dakota. Ralph Nader said the other day that. It takes two Tea Party congressmen have gotten more fight in them than the whole Progressive Caucus. And he's right. And so this is great. I agree with this because we've already seen it play out in the election. They ran after his personality, and it only strengthened him.
Well, Jimmy, if in fact the Democrats would actually support reinstating Glass.
Yeah, but the Democrats don't.
They didn't talk about it. She ran away from it. They don't want any part of it because they want to make sure that the banks continue to do business as usual.
Exactly.
Right. And the truth is that the amazing thing is that this is what Trump wants to talk about. Trump wants to talk about his personality. He wants to talk about his ego. He wants to talk about the cast of Hamilton and how outrageous they are. Nobody else cares. I mean, so he feeds into it. He eggs it on. It's he's read this playbook and he knows the defense to it, which is to just keep saying ridiculous crap so that it pisses people off. And nobody talks about the fact that he's about to bankrupt the country.
And I remember Berlusconi. I'm like, how do they keep electing that? Boy, those Italians really like their guys to be playboys,
Right.
And no, it's just the Trump phenomenon. Exactly.
Right. And the difference between Berlusconi and Trump is that Berlusconi actually made an assload of money. Like, he's successful.
All right, there you go. Focus on policy. I predict Democrats are going to find a way to F it up.